Hello and welcome. Good afternoon. You're watching MF Corner. I'm Sumaira Abdi. On the show today, two very important topics that debt investors just can't afford to miss. First, Feroze Aziz, Deputy CEO of Anand Rathi Wealth Management, will explain what the suffix SO or CE mean when you find them assigned to a bond's credit rating. We'll also talk about the new roll-down maturity funds with Joydeep Sen of WiseInvestor.in. But first, let me invite Feroze Aziz, Deputy CEO of Anand Rathi Wealth Management. Hi, Feroze. So, very often we have seen, some bonds. When you look at the fact sheet of debt mutual funds, we find these bonds that have SO or CE written next to them. Now, I understand that, on the face of it, it's not a very large proportion of, the debt mutual funds AUM. But there are some schemes which, have these SO or CE bonds in quite a high proportion, some 10%, some, even going up to 15, 18%. And we've seen in the past that, for example, in the SL case, this has come to the fore because there was a CE used for those bonds, right? So what exactly is this SOCE, and is it something which is very, very concerning for investors, right? So this is what we're going to be talking about today. Feroze, should we start with SO? What is a structured obligation?
Yes, before I get into structured obligation, it's very important that all investors who have monies in debt funds understand the underlying instruments. Especially when you have had surprises like the AT1 bonds. No one knew about a clause that the issuer can exist, but the bond can vaporize all the capital. So it's important to understand. Not all of them are risky, but it's important that you know what you own, directly or indirectly through a mutual fund. When it comes to structured obligation, SO stands for structured obligation. A structured obligation is a concept where an issuer disengages from the bond, and the bond's credibility largely depends on the underlying collateral of lending which has happened by the issuer. For example, if there is an issuer like Shriram Transport, if he has, as an entity, if they've lent to several individuals who have borrowed money from them, this as a package is given as a collateral to that bond. So structured obligation is nothing but a mechanism to enhance the credit risk, or probably it can be lower than the credit risk of the issuer itself, because your dependency of the repayment now depends on the pool of assets which have been collateralized. Generally, structured obligations are also called, in certain situations, called pass-through certificates, where the risk is passed from the issuer to a pool of other assets which have been collateralized to give the bond. If I have to give you an example, like Shriram Transport I just mentioned, the issuer is AA+. They've issued a bond from another trust called Sansar Trust, which is owned by 6 different mutual funds. The rating of that specific bond with the structured obligation is AAA rated, because their collection of all the payments has been very, very efficient. So this is an example of a structured obligation. It is generally different than the credit risk of the issuer entity.
Okay, so basically there is a company which is in the business of giving out loans. Now what they do is they carve out a portion of their loans, whether good, bad, ugly, whatever it may be, and put that in a special purpose vehicle, start raising money against that, right? Is that all it is?
Yes, that's what it is, precisely from a technical standpoint, which have merits and demerits both. If it is asset-backed, now your dependency is on the asset which is backing that issuer, that bond. That's one advantage. So even if the issuer goes bankrupt and if has a problem in repaying, if the asset is very good, you're still completely demarked from the issuer's credit risk. So that's one big advantage. And the second is, in pass-through certificates or a structured obligation, pass-through certificate is an example of it. The probability of the entire capital getting washed away, like in the S-Bank AT1 bonds or any other bond for that matter, is very low because it's distributed across several different people who would have borrowed from that entity.
Okay, so you're saying that a structured obligation would in most cases be positive? Because, I mean, it's unlikely that a lender will want to take exposure to a lower rated pool of loans, right? I mean, as a lender, I would always want to take the best out of, say, Shriram Transport or any other such company. I'll take the cream, and lend against that asset. So therefore, is it safer?
It is safer in most circumstances, but the prudence of making sure that the debenture is chosen very wisely is completely dependent on the fund manager. If I have a mutual fund which has a large proportion of structured obligation, the dependency on the fund manager to apply this judgment on behalf of all his investors becomes very critical. Hence, that fund manager is the kingpin of this decision. So I would be very selective on that fund manager, and if it's a good fund manager, you can create an instrument which is lesser risk than the issuer itself.
Okay, so if you see a SO, it is, at first sight, neither good or bad. It's something that must be investigated. Now let's come to credit enhancement. How is this different from structured obligation? And, is this a big negative or a positive?
See, credit enhancement, as the name suggests, it is generally an enhancement. If there is a subsidiary, this generally happens when there is a large company which has a subsidiary and the subsidiary wants to raise money, and the parent entity comes in and says, I have very good comfort with my subsidiary, so I give a guarantee to this, irrevocable or revocable, fully or partially, by a parent entity, which is generally stronger and has a stronger balance sheet to a subsidiary. So its credit enhancement in most circumstances is an enhanced credit because the parent is endorsing it and also giving tangible guarantees in case of any mishap were to happen in the future. So I think credit enhancement is definitely a positive, Sumera.
But, Feroz, there have been many instances, the most famous, again, going back to this SL case, where a credit enhancement itself had little value, right? So does it matter the group it comes from or the kind of credit enhancement it is?
See, I think if there was no credit enhancement in that instrument, I don't think the monies would have been recovered so easily. So, of course, it was not the best. It was better than not having any, to my mind, especially in the SL case, where, for example, HDFC as an AMC took a decision in this specific example to take all the bonds which were there in the funds onto their balance sheet at a specific price. And they ended up recovering that money when they had bought it over from the funds into their own balance sheet as an AMC. So it made gains for HDFC and protected the investors at the same time. So you're right. It was not sufficient. It created markdowns and subsequent other anxiety for investor. But at the end of it, it came out winning. So I personally think any collateral, of course, if there are shares pledged and if the value of the shares has deteriorated, then there's definitely an issue momentarily, but there's something better than nothing. And when you look at more general cases like the L&T having given a credit enhancement guarantee to Nabha Power, if I'm not wrong, that's the name. Yeah, that's one of their subsidiaries. I think that enhanced their credit and in turn helped the subsidiary borrow and gives the comfort to the person who's lending money to this subsidiary as a fund.
Feroz, do some AMCs or some fund managers have a larger or a higher tendency or propensity to go for bonds with this sort of enhancement, either SO or CE? And what do investors make of, AMCs where, a lot more funds have this kind of bonds?
See, for a debt fund manager, there are 2-3 sources of making money. One is by taking interest rate calls of predicting interest rate movement. The one other source of making money is the spread between lending to government, for example, lending to a AAA or lending to another corporate which is not a AAA. So this whole structured obligation credit enhancement is a game to try and make a larger spread between just lending to a large AAA company to any of these where you get that spread of 1-2%. This is an alpha game which a fund manager pays to be better than the peers. So I think that's a call which the fund manager takes to not take interest rate risk, but tries to do something innovative to get that spread on a portion of the portfolio to enhance the yield of the overall portfolio.
Okay, so would you say, if say up 3-4%, 5% of the bonds in a portfolio had either SO or CE suffix assigned to the credit rating, it's okay, to sort of just look at it and, think it over. But if at what level basically should an investor look at seriously investigating this?
See, one condition is if there's greater than 5%, I think 5% is reasonable. If it's greater than 10%, definitely you need to investigate. Second, if there is greater than 10%, doesn't mean that you have to panic, for sure. You'll have to try and see the fund manager track record. So you have to examine the fund manager and the asset management capability more if there is something which is bespoke in the portfolio. 5%, 3%, 4% is not a statement which the fund manager is making. It's just a de facto investment in more popular instruments which are there in this category. So I think greater than 10%, bad track record, exit the fund. If it is greater than 10% and it's a good fund house, large fund house, does not have a history of mismanagement on the debt fund side, stay put and enjoy the spread which these two may bring along.
All right, Feroze, thanks very much. So we've got a basic understanding of what a structured obligation or a credit enhancement is and at what level it must be investigated if your debt fund has exposure to it. Feroze, thanks very much at the moment for joining in. All right, with that, we need to wind up on today's edition of MF Corner. Do stay tuned. All the market action will now continue with the team of Closing Bell.